أعزائي المشاهدين في كل مكان، ازيكم؟ اخباركم ايه؟ يا رب تبقوا بخير. اهلا بيكم في حلقه جديده من حلقات قناه ثاندر التكنولوجيا والمعلومات. معاكم اخوكم اشرف. الحاقا للحلقه بتاعت امبارح اللي انا استعرضت فيها حوالي 9 كيبوردز او لوحه مفاتيح او احسن لوح مفاتيح في العالم. النهارده جايب لكم الماوس الوايرلس، احسن ماوس وايرلس تقدروا تستخدموه سواء للجيمز او للاستخدام المكتبي او للاستخدام الديسكتوب او لاستخدام اللابتوب او لاستخدام للسمارت تي في. جايب لكم الفيديو النهارده صغير هنستعرضه مع بعضينا. زي كل مره مش هنسى اوصيكم ما تنسوناش سبسكرايب، اللايك، الشير في كل مكان، الكومنتس، وهرد عليكم على طول. صندوق الوصف او الديسكريبشن اسفل الفيديو هتلاقوا فيه لينكات من شركه جوميا وامازون، بصوا عليها وخدوا فكره. المعدات ديت احنا كنا جربناها او زمايلنا جربوها. لو عجبتكم اشتروها دعما للقناه. يلا بينا نستعرض احسن سمارت ماوس او ماوس وايرلس على مستوى العالم. يلا بينا.
Ultimate, the Superlight, the Aerox 3, the Model O wireless, and on the heavier side of things, the Kane 202 from Rocat. Now, to kind of set the stage here, I usually exclusively play Call of Duty, aggressive, run and gun, sniper, and SMG. I'm not a next level player or anything. Like, I haven't been accused of hacking yet, but I've been cussed out plenty of times. I don't camp either. I'm out because it's been my longest running main. It's been a long time since my original review, and it's seen some updates since that original V1 version. I suppose I should say as well that it's my main for a few reasons. So if any of my comments are unique factors about the Viper, it's got optical switches. These get a bad rap for being mushy, and if you tried the V1 version only, that's understandable, but they've tweaked these. The new V2s, like the ones they use in the Viper Mini, are a lot less mushy and a lot more clicky. I don't know, you're not going to confuse them with an Omron, but they're night and day versus the original. And even if they feel just a touch weird at first, you get used to them really fast. And they're really fast as well. I've had every version of this mouse, even unreleased prototypes, and now this ridiculously nice looking cyberpunk themed version as well that I'm terrified to use. I love the shape of this mouse. It's low, flat, similar to an FK, and not too dissimilar from the Model O wireless. It's one of the few at the top that has support for lefties, but I will say, after doing so many hours of direct comparison, these aren't my favorite side buttons. They feel like missing, too low to the frame in comparison to some of the others, particularly the Superlight. The charging dock is also something that really sets this mouse apart. It seems insignificant, but when you're done playing, you just drop it on the dock and walk away. Next time you walk up, you just pick it up, it's charged, it's good to go. I have very, very little negative to say about this mouse. My only real complaint here is that the force to depress the scroll wheel is super firm. Priced originally at $149.99 US, you can catch this on sale for $99 this holiday season. I'm sure they did this in response to the Model O wireless pricing, and everybody wins for that because at 99 bucks, you're getting a lot of mouse. It's nice too that these are available like literally everywhere you can buy electronics. So in the rare instance that you do have a quality control concern, the Model O wireless from Glorious, because in overall shape and grip style, it's really similar to the Viper Ultimate, as they both kind of have that FK inspired vibe. I hold them very similar, but there's something about the grip on the Viper being just that tiny bit narrower that seems to work better for me. Standout stuff here, there's no left-hand support, and the frame obviously has holes. They also make ceramic feet for their mice if you want to explore that, though I personally don't find anything wrong with PTFE for most use cases. It does have USB-C, but it's got a proprietary connector. I'm not even sure why, as it seems to play and charge just fine with a standard USB-C regardless of orientation, but I wouldn't risk damaging the mouse. I like the side buttons here better than I like the Viper Ultimate. It's reassuring to know they're right there, but they also have a strong enough tactility that I never accidentally press them. This is easily the best quality Model O we've seen so far. It feels really well built. Both my copies are exceptional, like really top tier, but I have heard low murmurings of quality control stuff, both in the side buttons and that dreaded squeaky scroll wheel. I don't have that issue replacing the Viper as my main. A question I get a lot is that now that the pricing is so similar between this and the Viper Ultimate with that holiday discount, which one would I go with personally? And we will get to that for sure when we talk about the performance conclusion. Got to get in a quick word from the very tip top of price points. We have the recently released Superlight from Logitech. I think people misunderstood the point of this mouse. I think there's this perception out there that Logitech took away a bunch of stuff and then charged us a lot more money. I don't think that's fair. This is a very specific mouse for pro level. Really cut the weight, didn't make any sacrifices to the build quality, and lost the RGB, which benefited both the weight and the battery life. If you're a fingertip player, high sensitivity, yes, the weight is noticeable. It's the lightest of all the wireless options, and you can tell in hand. I can fingertip this mouse with a really light touch, and I've really grown to like it. That's odd for me to say because I don't think it's any big secret that I've never been a fan of the GPW shape. It's a taller egg shape that's so smooth, I feel like I could never find a consistent grip. I've been able to overcome that with this mouse. The move to stick with micro USB as opposed to USB-C was more a marketing blunder than a functionality concern, but nothing tops the Viper's charging dock for pure convenience. On the topic of double clicks, these have new switches. I'm not sure why people kept overlooking that in the review, but if you've had double click issues with Logitech stuff before, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have them here. Even G Pro wireless copies as new as the Ghost still had the old switches, but I think they've been making new copies available everywhere. So buy from somewhere with an easy return policy if it doesn't fit the bill for you. If you need left-hand support or want RGB and don't mind a heavier weight, the G Pro wireless remains in market at a price of $129.99. Next up is the Aerox 3 from SteelSeries. I was pretty hard on this thing in the review. It's got the lowest in build quality of the bunch and the strangest feet of the bunch as well. I did really like the shape. When I light fingertip this thing, neither the frame nor the feet are really an issue, but oddly, the more time I spend with this in comparison, the less I like the shape. It's the most comfortable to me and the most consistent in terms of hitting shots when I hold it like this. The trouble is, it puts the front thumb button out of reach for me. If I choke up on the mouse and try to hold it here, it's not comfortable anymore and I'm not consistent with it. I just reviewed it in detail, so I'm not gonna dive too much into it. At $100, it's arguably the best offering from SteelSeries. And if you know already you're a fan of this style of shape, it's a solid mouse. It's the only one on the list with universal USB-C. It's also the only mouse whose dongle is also used until quite recently. This is the Kane 202 wireless from Ruckat. If the trend towards lighter and lighter mice just isn't for you, this is one to take a look at 105 grams. The build quality here is wow. I mean, it feels like I could throw it through a window, pick it up, and finish the round with it. It's a handful, for real. It's got a similar length as the others, but it's easily the tallest on the list, and it's not a symmetrical shape. There's a definite fall off from right to left. I love the scroll wheel here. It's wide, good tensioning, force to depress is easy. Love the side buttons. Again, if small side buttons aren't for you, these are very generous. A little pre, but no post travel, really solid. Triggers feel good. Despite it being a little older than a lot of the mice on the list, the wireless performs really well to me. If it's good enough for the two-time, it's probably good enough for you too. So as far as performance in game, I will say that every one of these mice performed well. I had play of the games with each of them. Of the list, I personally performed the best consistently with the Superlight and the Viper Ultimate. And between those two, I performed consistently the best, hands down, with the Viper Ultimate. Flick after quick scope, this is the one that the Model O wireless is 80 and budget is a concern. Go for the Model O wireless. It's a solid mouse. If the pricing is similar, Viper gets the nod from me, even though I don't like the side buttons or the scroll wheel as much as I do on the Model O wireless. If you like the GPW shape and you want the highest performing version of that mouse and you're not left-handed, Superlight is a beast. If you've always been a fan of the SteelSeries shape, Aerox 3, and buy some new glides. And if you like a heavier mouse for stability, the Ruckat is solid. And if budget is really a big concern, that G onto this thing. That's 100% me. I don't feel like that's a valid mouse pad test. It didn't land where I normally use my mouse anyway. This pad has probably 50, 60 hours on it now, and it is starting to show signs of slowdown. Dead center where I use it most. It's still not slow, it's just not as fast as the outer edges, so I'll continue to keep an eye on it. Still my favorite pad I've had in a long time. Coming up in a couple videos, I'll run down all the lightweight wired mice that I missed because companies are literally trying to bury me in review videos this month. So stuff like the Haste, the Burst Pro, the HSK, the Ducky Feather, the MM720, we'll hit all those in one video. As always, links down in the description for everything that we talked about today. Any questions?